In a politically exhausted climate, is there any room for effective and enjoyable political satire? How about on network TV? We answer all these questions and more next on the Unproduced Table Read.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unproduced Table Read here on the Popcorn Talk Network. This is the theme song to Veep. Any fans?
Big fan.
Yes, because we are, as I mentioned, reading a political comedy here on the show today. Not quite as edgy as the HBO one with which you're familiar, but one I very much like, called Screwed, written by the brilliant and beautiful Erin Fischer.
Hi,
Erin, thank you for being here. We're so excited to have you. Those mics are very insensitive, so bring it in a little bit if you would.
Can you hear me?
Much better, yeah.
Okay.
Like Britney Spears style, that's what we say.
Perfect.
But thanks for being here. We're so excited to have you. It's going to be great. So as I mentioned, guys, this is the Unproduced Table Read, a show where we read Hollywood's hottest unmade pilots and features so that you can hear great work read on air and we can get these things made. But before we get into the show, I would love to introduce my brilliant co-panelists, including Andrew Guy.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Andrew Guy. You can find me online with that same name, and today I'll be reading for Greg for the most part.
Kevin.
Hi there, my name is Kevin Krumpak. You can find me online at Kev Krumpak. That's KEVKRUMPAK. And I'm going to be reading for Henry. I'm going to be reading for Steve. I'm going to be reading for the cashier. And I'm also going to be reading for Marcos.
Yes.
Hey guys, I'm Adrienne Snow. I'm just reading for Fiona and Keith Mann.
What's up, guys? I'm Roxy Stryer. I'll be reading for Izzy and Woman on Speaker.
Hey guys, I'm Timothy Michael. I will be reading Wimby, Wallace, and Tim. Ironically.
the Tim reading the Tim.
Exactly.
I feel like it sometimes happens where we have characters reading characters.
You
as well.
always do that.
I was a Jeff last week, I think.
Yeah.
It's when I get very uncreative. I just assign it.
Not many Roxys out there.
Not many Roxys.
Someday.
We'll find a script with the
prostitutes of the
Roxy,
world.
and I'll make sure to give it to Adrian when that is.
Or Haley.
Nail it, girl.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so this is a political comedy, as I mentioned. I think it's got some Greg Schur, that's right, Greg Schur? Mike Schur.
Mike Schur?
I just combined Greg Daniels and Mike Schur, who are two amazing showrunners.
That would be a good person.
That would be a great person.
Yeah.
But it's got some Mike Schur vibes for sure. He produced Parks and Rec, most recently Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Good Place, which is an amazing show. Erin, can you talk a little bit about this script, kind of your inspirations, and the world we're entering today before we dive in?
Sure. Yeah, Veep was, hearing that theme song was very encouraging.
Yes.
I actually started out trying to write a Veep spec and then wanting to go more network with it, and that's kind of how I got to where this is. It's set in Washington, D.C. with congressional interns, so it's the newest, brightest, most hopeful crop of people who have just come out of college, and they're kind of getting hit with the reality of what it's like to actually try and make a difference.
Great.
Politics.
Perfect. I love that. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it, guys. This is the pilot to Screwed, written by Erin Fischer, and we're reading it right now. Cold open. Interior conference room day. A drab conference room. Henry, a painfully genuine old man, is in the middle of delivering a speech.
In these divisive times, it is a great joy to welcome you, the new generation, our nation's future, to the 2018 Capitol Hill intern class.
A reverse shot of the room shows a picture-perfect, diverse group of ambitious 20-somethings.
You've been accepted to Washington's most prestigious internship. The people who sat in these seats before you went on to be senators, Supreme Court justices.
Henry locks eyes with one particular intern, Fiona, 26, who looks like she just came out of the womb wearing a blazer.
And even president.
At president, a single tear rolls down Fiona's cheek.
Now for your committee assignments. Interns tend to worry about which congressional post they'll get, but fret not. Every department here is equally important.
The ancient interns perk up as Henry studies a long list.
For the Congressional Committee on Nuclear Warfare, Wimby and Schumer.
Two male interns, Wimby and Schumer, leap from their seats.
Yes, this is what I graduated summa cum laude from Harvard for.
This is what I starred in 2 seasons of Judgetown Juggalos for, yeah!
Everyone applauds. The two men hug, then exit together. Fade to interior conference room day. The 7 interns left at the table nervously eye each other.
The Committee on Extraterrestrial Activity, Zax, Shearing, and Garcia.
The three interns breathe a sigh of relief and exit. And that leaves us with Wallace, the nicest person in any room, and Steve, 40s, an opinionated Southerner and the only old intern, and finally Izzy, 18, a female Doogie Howser type, and Fiona, who's fully panicking.
And lastly,
No, please, no, not the subcommittee responsible for efficient waste and excrement disposal.
Or better known as Screwed.
Everyone turns to see Greg Shanton, 50s, a pale, jaded congressman, enter and stroll to the front of the table.
Shit.
Shit is right. I've got this. You can get back to Dumbledore's office or wherever you go between welcoming interns.
Henry gives a happy nod and exits. Greg leans on the table as he smiles out his most recent recruits, and crickets.
That was a Harry Potter joke. You should have liked it. You're young. Well, you're not.
Fiona's hand shoots up in the air and Greg ignores it.
I am Congressman Greg Shanton, representing Ohio's regressive nitwit district. I'm also the involuntary co-chair of Screwed, a useless committee that only exists to punish congressmen no one likes.
Mr. Shanton.
It's Congressman Shanton. 245,673 people on Dumb Plains, Ohio voted me to Congress. Don't forget it.
There's been a mistake. Wallace and I are Rhodes scholars. We shouldn't be assigned to sewage regulation.
Look, I'm sure you were the smartest person in whatever suburban hell you came from, but a perfect GPA and a high-functioning OCD make you average at best here.
Fiona stumbles. No one has ever called her average.
And since I'm flexing this muscle,
Greg stretches, then points to Steve.
conservative white man who left his job to start over in Washington because he naively thinks Southern values are soothing balm this blistering anus of a town needs.
huh. If I'd explained it like that, maybe my wife wouldn't have left.
Greg turns on a dime, launching in on Izzy even faster.
A child genius whose age is a fun gimmick now, but who'll ultimately be left socially stunted because instead of trying to whippets at 18, she got an engineering degree.
16. I got my degree in Brazil at 16, but had to redo it in America.
Damn, forgot to factor in my own country's racist elitism.
Greg moves down the line to Wallace, who winces and grabs Fiona's hand for support.
You know what? No, I like you. I feel bad you're dating Robo-Senator.
Pointing to Fiona.
And you obviously cry so easily you can't even think about Fleetwood Mac lyrics without tearing up.
I feel so seen.
Fiona gives Wallace a menacing look for indulging Greg.
Welcome to D.C., plucky interns, a place where just this morning the White House Chief of Staff offered to blow me if I'd compliment the president's golf swing. Now, let's get to work.
We pan across the worried faces of our four screwed interns, landing lastly on Wallace, who's in his own world.
You can go your own way.
Title, Screwed, End cold open. Act 1, Interior Screwed Offices Day. A dingy room crammed with cubicles. Tim, 30s, greasy hair and bad posture, stands at a reception desk stocking the shelves with cans of soup. The door swings open as Greg enters. Fiona, Wallace, Izzy, and Steve all look reluctant to follow.
Tim, we've got new ones. This is Tim. He was a congressional intern just like you. Now, he's my assistant of over a decade and an avid doomsday prepper.
I have the largest stockpile of dairy-based soups in the country.
Which is impressive since no store in D.C. will sell this man's soup.
Yeah, because someone called them all and said I was using it to murder people.
Unseen by Tim, Greg mouths, "It was me," to the interns.
I mean, how would I even do that?
Well, I guess you drowned them in it.
Hey, speaking of drowning in a weird and terrible way, Tim, please show these highly qualified people their first assignment.
Interior File Room Day. Tim leads the interns into a large, messy file room.
These files are for every waste disposal disaster we've handled. Greg would like them organized from gross to truly disturbing.
So, what's the deal with Congressman Shanton? Is this like a hazing period that will end in surprisingly meaningful work that fulfills our political dreams?
Dreams? Dreams come here to die.
Tim stares hauntingly at the group as he backs from the room.
I like that guy.
Oh, God, this is insane. How did we end up in the pathetic runoff group?
Wallace places a hand on her shoulder.
It's okay, Fee. We'll figure out a way to make this work.
Fiona nods, determined. Izzy sits on a stack of files.
I've never been directionless before. What do I do? Do I nap?
Just think of this setback as a life pothole that one day we'll all look back on and laugh.
The rest of the young interns stare at him, incredulous.
Okay, maybe for you, grandfather time.
Insults are her stress response. It's not personal. Well, it is personal, but it's not your fault.
We just have to apply ourselves. Which is worse, a septic tank rupturing during an outdoor barbecue or a dog getting explosive diarrhea on a plane?
Izzy, now leaning against the wall, begins to snore. Interior intern house night. All the interns are housed together in a building with a frat-like vibe. Everyone is elated and celebrating, except for the 4 screwed interns who sit stone-faced on a couch. Wimby collapses into a chair across from our group.
Man, this internship is tight. I went into the situation room today, and now I have the nuclear codes memorized.
Everyone is red in anger with jealousy.
Really? What are they?
Hey, I can't tell you. But if you're a fan of Lost, you can probably figure them out.
Wimby leans forward and extends his hand to Fiona.
Chase Wimby.
Fiona, and this is my boyfriend.
Fiona looks to Wallace, completely drawing a blank. Wallace jumps in to save her.
Wallace. And I'm getting a drink.
Wallace stands to head to the kitchen. Steve and Izzy suddenly get up to follow him.
Yeah, us too.
So, if you were poisoned, do you think your spot would be filled by a current intern?
Interior intern house kitchen continuous. Wallace closes the fridge. Steve and Izzy come up behind them.
Hey, Wallace, how's it going?
Good?
We were just wondering, what's the deal with you and Fiona?
Wallace's eyes light up. He loves telling this story.
We met in the 2nd grade. I used the interrupting cow knock-knock joke on her. She taught me how to open a Capri Sun, and we've been together ever since. One day I'll be a senator, and she'll be president, and we'll change the world.
Really? Because she just forgot your name.
Yeah, she's anxious. I know Fee comes off as intense when you first meet her, but she grows on you.
You just seem like a nice guy. You sure all this is for you?
Are you kidding? Of course. I love Washington. I love politics and schemes and how mean people are. And I was never that interested in horticulture anyways.
Wallace runs away. Izzy goes to follow, but Steve stops her.
Leave him be. Is it okay for me to call you Izzy? I don't want to get in trouble with the PC police.
What? Of course it's okay. It's my nickname, short for Isabella.
Off of Steve's still worried look.
Like, would it be offensive if I called you Steve-O?
Yes.
Interior screwed offices the next day. Fiona, Steve, and Izzy are set up at cubicles in a bullpen. Greg enters and walks from cubicle to cubicle.
New day, a new way to show your dreams are stupid. Steve, how's it going getting that picture of me wearing shorts off Google?
I think it's impossible, sir.
Great. Keep trying for 2 months. Izzy, you got my signature down?
Greg picks up a stack of postcards from her desk and immediately dumps them in the trash. Izzy gasps.
Start over. The curves on the bubble letters are a disgrace. And Fiona, how's phone duty going?
No one's called.
And no one will, except for telemarketers, who must be given the waste management survey because telemarketers are voters too.
Greg moves to the next cubicle, but it's empty.
Is Wallace still not back with lunch yet?
Pop 2, interior restaurant day. A frazzled Wallace talking to a cashier at a restaurant.
So you want the grilled salmon?
No. I need the sushi cut roll, unwrapped with the salmon cooked and served on top of the rice.
That's the grilled...
Please, it's what he ordered. I don't know why. Just help me.
Back to interior screwed offices continuous. Back in the office, the phone rings.
Your time to shine, Fiona.
Fiona picks up the ancient office phone.
The subcommittee responsible for the efficient waste and excrement disposal. No, I don't want a cable package. But what are your thoughts on America's waste disposal system? You've never been to America.
Greg points to a handwritten survey sheet on Fiona's desk. There's a list of questions for foreign telemarketers.
How does your country deal with excrement? No, it's not an insult.
Wallace comes running in carrying several bulky bags.
I did it. I got lunch.
Wallace collapses from the weight of the bags and the exhaustion. Exterior screwed offices day. The 4 interns sit on the steps outside eating lunch and looking glum.
I never should have come to America.
I know this assignment seems bad, but I bet I can figure out a way for us to spin it.
Or we could accept that some things are out of our control.
Do you hear yourself when you say these things? Like, what we need is for garbage to become relevant. If there was just a deadly earwax disease spreading due to poorly disposed Q-tips, we'd be set.
You're doing that thing where you scare people.
A fellow intern, Marcos, walks by.
Hey guys, how's it going at the sewage committee?
It's great. It's really inspiring and great. It's reinvigorated my love for politics.
I know how you feel. I can't tell you what I do at the Committee of Extraterrestrial Activity, but I've seen photos the Pentagon doesn't know about. See you at the house.
Marcos walks off, leaving everyone painfully jealous.
If we just hijacked one little medical waste truck and dumped it in a water supply.
She's kidding, I think.
Interior screwed offices day. The gang re-enters to find Greg and Tim both ashen and in shock watching the news.
Tim, Greg, are you okay?
It's Boston. Their sewer system failed. Shit's flooding the streets is exactly what I predicted.
So you're saying...
Yeah. Shit just got relevant.
A giant smile spreads across Fiona's face. Steve, Izzy, and Wallace look at each other, frightened she somehow caused this.
Okay, first things first, we get Greg on TV.
I can set up a hotline number.
I'll just go prepare in my office.
Greg scurries off, but everyone else is getting excited.
I'm good at making memes that scare people into caring about something.
Perfect. Wallace can help on Twitter. He's got a bunch of followers because people like his haikus or something.
I won the T.S. Eliot Award.
Cut to Interior Screwed offices an hour later. The interns are all at their desks again, only this time the mood is high. Fiona's on the phone as Tim passes with a stack of papers. He's standing up straight and actually smiling.
You look good, Tim.
I feel good.
10 p.m., okay? Yep, he'll be there.
Interior Greg's office continuous. Fiona opens the door to Greg's office.
I booked you on Fox News at night, and you're on right after the guy who claims Hillary Clinton cut him in line at Jersey Mike's.
Fiona stops. Greg's office is empty. His windows open wide. Fiona looks out and can see Greg on the street, running away. End Act 1. Act 2. Interior Screwed offices continuous. Wallace, Izzy, Steve, and Tim all work happily. Tim lost the black hoodie and now wears a brightly colored shirt. His hair is somehow less greasy and he looks completely different.
TM, can you check this meme?
Tim glances over Steve's shoulder at his computer.
Typo free.
That won't work.
This is really fun, you guys. Something in me is opened. It's as if I'm learning to love again.
Fiona enters the room.
So, a slight problem. Congressman Shenton snuck out the window and ran away.
Tim's smile fades, his posture hunching.
Oh, no, Tim, wait. It'll be okay.
Yeah, we'll figure this out.
No, you won't.
Tim puts his black hoodie back on and he exits.
Well, that's discouraging.
We are at this committee during the most important time in its history. Greg will come around.
The phone rings.
See, that could actually be someone who matters calling.
Fiona picks up the phone and immediately...
No, I do not need weight loss pills.
Fiona slams down the phone.
I was raised to never give up. It's how I finished school so fast. It's how I got my black belt. It's how I not only collected every Beanie Baby, but sold them for a profit.
Everyone reacts, impressed.
But this place has inspired me to give up.
She begins to pack her stuff.
Yeah, I'm with Izzy.
What could you possibly do back at the house that's better than this?
Binge watch Fuller House.
Steve and Izzy turn to each other, stunned. Then they smile and run out of the office together. Wallace approaches Fiona.
Fee, maybe we could just write this internship off as an easy few months, take the time to do fun things together.
Fiona is already at her desk typing and doesn't respond.
Let's take a road trip to Shenandoah National Park. They say it's the year of the bird.
Wallace, I love you, and I love that idea, but when I'm president and Oprah writes my biography as her first non-Oprah themed book, what will this chapter be? It's my first job in Washington, and it will be inspiring.
Yeah, you're right. We can always take advantage of the year of the bird next year.
Fiona and Wallace get to work. Interior intern house night. Steve and Izzy are hanging out with the other interns. One intern, Laura, has everyone entranced with her story. And since I specialize in tax law at Yale, they called me in to talk with the vice president about it.
Wow, I wish I was on the Ways and Means community.
What do you guys do at the Feces Bureau or whatever it's called?
Lots of important work. Right, Steve?
I got a picture of Congressman Shanton wearing shorts taken off the internet.
Wallace comes running in, out of breath.
Steve, Izzy, I need you guys back in the office, quick.
Why, is the toilet clogged? The other interns laugh, and Steve and Izzy fume. Exterior intern house, front steps, night. Steve, Izzy, and Wallace exit the room. Wallace is pumped.
All right, here we go. You guys won't believe what Fiona found.
Wallace looks behind him to see Steve and Izzy sitting on the front steps and Steve smoking a cigarette.
What are you doing?
Steve pats the open seat next to him.
Take a load off, Wallace. I know you don't really want to go back to the office either.
What are you talking about? I love this stuff. I love politics.
Steve's right, just admit it.
Oh, yeah? Are you guys, like, best friends now or something?
Steve and Izzy hold up their arms. He's wearing a bracelet that says best, and she's wearing one that says friends.
We made these earlier.
I'm as surprised as anyone that the only person here I like is the foreign teenager whose first language isn't even American.
And I'm mortified that my only real friend is a middle-aged Republican who needs to lose 30 to 40 pounds, but here we are.
They smile at each other. A nice moment. Platonic, she's 18.
Oh, this is crazy. Steve, did you really leave a career in, I want to say, shady real estate?
I ran a lucrative vaping business.
You're literally smoking a cigarette right now.
Yeah, vaping is super dangerous. It's going to kill a lot of people.
You gave up your vape shop to come to Washington just because you got the worst internship doesn't mean you can't still make a difference. And Izzy, you're an actual genius and the only immigrant who was accepted to this program, so maybe you should probably put yourself towards it.
Hey, if I ever call Izzy an immigrant again, I'll fill your bedroom with such concentrated vape smoke, you'll die in 5 minutes.
Huh? Immigrant isn't an insult.
Baby steps. Thanks, Steve.
Izzy and Steve fist bump.
Hate to admit it, but Wallace is right. Steve, how about we binge Fuller House another night?
Steve nods and the two stand to follow Wallace. Interior Screwed offices night. Fiona is at a computer. Izzy, Steve, and Wallace are gathered around her as she explains her findings.
20 years ago, when Greg Shanton was made co-chair of Screwed.
Oh my God.
Reveal! On screen is a photo of young Greg Shanton standing on the steps of the Capitol building, looking happy and hopeful.
He could have been any of us.
A jump scare sound effect as a chill runs through the room.
Back then, he took the appointment seriously and tried to pass legislation to fund the remodeling of combined sewer systems.
So, if that bill had passed, Boston Street wouldn't be under 2 inches of shit right now?
Exactly. If we can convince Greg that he can pass it by taking advantage of this publicity,
We can do something
Oprah will have
real
the
for the
material
good of
she
the
needs for my
country.
inspiring first chapter.
Alrighty then, we'll be ready for him in the morning.
Fiona holds up a piece of paper.
Or I have his home address.
You are so scary.
Smash cut to interior apartment complex hallway night. Our group stands outside the door of Greg's apartment. The sound of an emotional Fleetwood Mac song plays from inside. Fiona takes a deep breath and knocks. The music stops. Some commotion inside, then the door swings open to reveal Greg wearing a short bathrobe and holding a glass of wine.
Go away.
Greg tries to slam the door, but Fiona stops him.
How do you know where I live?
You made Wallace schedule you a home dentistry appointment?
I found a dentist will do it, but we had to fly him in from Tampa, and he goes by Dr. Crunch. That's not why we're here, though.
You need to do the TV circuit while the committee is still relevant. If we do this right, we could get your combined sewage bill passed.
Greg softens at the mention of the bill, but quickly recovers.
I don't care about the bill.
That's right, because caring is scary, isn't it, Greg? To avoid getting hurt, you've built up more walls around your heart than Mexico could ever pay for.
Greg stares blankly at Steve, unmoved.
Doing the interview could make the colleagues who banished you to this department jealous.
That I like.
I know it's been a while since you've done any publicity, but don't worry, we'll get you ready.
Everyone looks to each other, excited.
Yeah, because we might have started out co-workers, but now we're a family, one with a common goal.
Everyone walks away from Wallace, but he trails on. Interior Screwed offices night. It's late at night. The interns have cleared out a space in the center of the office. Fiona sits in a chair across from Greg holding cards, simulating a TV interview.
Our guest this morning has some opinions on the crisis in Boston.
I'm Congressman Greg Shanton, representing Corn Farts, Ohio.
Everyone groans.
Sorry, instinct.
Look, you missed Fox at Night, so I had to book you on Sitch with Keith Mann. He's an amazing gotcha journalist. One slightly offensive slip and he'll destroy you.
Okay. Hit me again.
And so begins the getting ready montage. Izzy writes double negatives across a whiteboard.
Did you think you didn't not predict this Boston problem?
No.
Not right.
Fiona holds up a picture of an upset Bostonian who stepped in the sewage overflow. Greg tries not to laugh but can't help himself. Fiona admonishes him. Steve points to a district map of Ohio.
Ohio's Ohio's 13th district.
Steve nods, proud. Wallace is by the board with columns labeled he, she, they, and non-gender binary. Pictures of celebrities that fit those descriptions are each beneath a label. Greg holds a picture of Tweety Bird, struggling to decide where to put it. Greg finally takes the plunge and places Tweety Bird under gender non-binary, and everyone cheers. End montage. Fiona and Greg are back in their mock interview chairs, wrapping up their preparation.
And be sure to mention the hotline number. I made up a little jingle so you can't forget it.
Singing an awful radio ad type of song.
If you're having a problem you just can't see, if you don't know what to do with your poo and your pee, you call 1202 Cat Tree.
That's the worst thing I've ever seen a person do, and I used to party with Anthony Weiner.
Why Catry?
Those are the only words I could get our number to spell out.
Okay, well, despite Fiona's best efforts to make us all kill ourselves, I feel prepared.
Okay, just be semi-coherent and mention the hotline number. That's it.
Really, the only thing that could mess you up now would be something embarrassing in your past Keith could use against you.
Good thing I'm a clean slate, then. I want you guys to know, I really appreciate you doing this for me. Now get back out there.
The interns exit and Greg's confidence immediately fades. Suddenly, Tim appears from the shadows.
You didn't tell them about the tweet, did you?
That tweet was 3 years ago. No one remembers.
The internet always remembers.
Tim disappears back into the shadows, leaving Greg worried. End Act 2. Act 3, interior intern house common area morning. Fiona, Wallace, Izzy, and Steve and some other interns are gathered around the TV. Our group is proud and excited.
Did you guys really prep a congressman for a TV appearance?
Hell yeah, we did.
That's actually pretty cool. No shit, hombre.
Off Izzy's look.
I mean, no shit, dumbass.
Steve and Izzy high five.
I don't know what to do with your poop and your pee. If you
Please don't. Fiona's stupid song was stuck in my head all night.
It's starting.
On screen, Greg sits across from Keith Mann, 40s, a polished news anchor.
Today's guest is Congressman Greg Shen, who's here to talk about fixing broken sewer systems. Is that not correct?
No.
Greg smiles proudly at the camera.
We'll get to what we're here to say, but first, can you explain this?
An alarm sounds and lights flash on the TV set.
What is happening?
In 2015, you tweeted, if Sarah Palin had a spirit animal, it'd be Marnie the dog. How dare you, sir?
It was a joke.
A joke. We're okay with a lot of things in this country. You can mock a disabled man or a female politician, but don't you dare bring a disabled female dog into it. That's a line Americans do not cross.
Greg's eyes dart around the room. He sweats, fully panicking.
Do you not disagree? Huh? Do you?
Off of Greg's non-reaction.
Say something.
If you're having a problem you just can't see, if you don't know what to do with your poo and your pee, you call 1202 cat tree.
In the house, the group stares mortified at the TV. The other interns burst into laughter.
I'm not sure what just happened, so let's cut to a default piece about things millennials do wrong.
Well, at least he remembered to mention the phone number.
On screen, they've cut to footage of a news anchor in a suit speaking gravely to camera. This just in, millennials are killing the stagecoach industry. Interior Screwed Office's day. Tim is at the reception desk, happily cleaning a row of gas masks, while Fiona, Wallace, Izzy, and Steve all sit at their cubicle desks, silently watching the front door. Bam! The door swings open and Greg stomps in.
That was a fucking disaster. My co-chair, Ed Hart, called me. Ed called. I thought he was dead.
Well, we could...
I don't want to hear it. Just go back to being pitiful interns doing your demeaning intern jobs. Why did you let yourself get inspired by the bright-eyed youths? Never be inspired by the bright-eyed youths.
Greg locks himself in his office. A beat, and then the phone rings. Everyone stares at it, scared.
Someone answer it.
What if it's a reporter?
Fiona bravely picks up the phone.
The subcommittee responsible for the efficient waste and excrement disposal. No, I'm not interested in a Sears credit card.
Everyone relaxes as they realize it's just another telemarketer. Fiona is about to hang up when she looks up to see that Greg is now standing over her, glaring. Fiona puts the phone back to her ear.
So, what do you think of America's waste disposal system? No, it's not a joke. Are you happy with your sewage? I'm not making fun. No, don't cry. I'm sorry. She started crying and then hung up.
Good.
Greg goes back to his office. Fiona hangs her head. Wallace comes over and puts a hand on her shoulder.
Hey, it's okay, Fee.
It's not okay. I worked so hard to get this internship and nothing is going right.
It's not your fault. It's Washington. It's a cruel, corrupt system, and it's near impossible to get ahead.
I know. It's why I love this town. It's not Washington, so it must be me.
Fiona stands.
Maybe Greg had it right all along. Maybe it's stupid to care.
I tried to tell you. Hey, would a room temperature can of broccoli cheddar soup make you feel better?
I'm going for a walk.
Fiona exits. Izzy and Steve move to stand near Wallace.
I've never seen her like this.
Should we go after her?
Wallace shakes his head.
Maybe it'll be good for her to get a little disillusioned. Maybe she'll start to relax more.
Wallace lets himself dream.
Maybe we could buy a house together in the country, be one of those couples that get really into flea market shopping. Start a blog.
Fiona re-enters holding her phone above her head.
Greg!
Greg sticks his head out of the office.
It's Congressman Shanton.
The president just slapped Angela Merkel.
Oh, thank God.
That's all the press will be covering. No one will remember your interview. We can try again.
No, you don't get any ideas. We've been regulated back to obscurity, and we're keeping it that way.
Greg slams his office door and shuts it in Fiona's face. Interior intern house, common area night. Everyone is drinking heavily and watching C-SPAN where a house vote is taking place, and Marcos enters the room.
Hey, guys.
A shirtless
Marcos.
Wimby.
I forgot my last name. Do you know it?
Wimby, you go by your last name. I was gone 10 minutes. How did everyone get so drunk so fast?
I invented a game where you take a shot every time the congressperson voting has been accused of sexual assault.
Blake Farenthold, drink.
Not again. It's too much.
It's my greatest achievement.
I don't know why everyone's being such babies about. I'm fine. Also, unrelated, all our dreams are shams, and there is no purpose to life.
Fiona, that's so dark.
But it's true. I don't have a cool internship like you where I learned nuclear codes. I talk to telemarketers and get berated by a washed-up congressman all day.
I have a confession. I didn't learn the nuclear codes. I just had to memorize the birthdays for all of Mr. Rutherford's 60 grandkids.
And I really didn't advise the vice president. I'm not allowed to even think about Mike Pence unless I'm wearing a locked chastity belt.
All I do with the extraterrestrial committee is sort the pictures people send and the people of possible UFOs, but they're all just dick pics, like so many dick pics.
I didn't know.
Sometimes I get one and it's like, I think I got a UFO, but no, it's always just another weird penis.
Oh, we're all so pathetic.
All the sad, drunk interns share a sloppy group hug.
At least you've actually met the congressman you work for. Ours has never even shown up to the office.
A beat as this sinks in for Fiona. Interior, Greg's office next day. Greg sits at his computer scrolling through news websites that all have headlines like Merkel gets slapped. A knock at the door. Fiona enters before he can answer.
What do you want?
Fiona confidently takes a seat across from Greg.
I know your secret.
That I'm really Tim's father? He'll never believe you. It's your word against mine and the man against mine and the man I paid to raise him.
No. Deep down, you're still as hopeful as any of us. I talked to the other interns, and none of them have even met their committee chairs. So you show up. You work with us. You're not trying to disillusion us. You're trying to prepare us because you still believe.
Greg and Fiona stare at each other, both daring each other to back down, and Greg finally relents.
If you tell anyone, I'll have Tim's fake dad kill you.
Fiona smiles wide. Interior Screwed office is continuous. Fiona exits Greg's office. Wallace, Izzy, and Steve are all at their cubicles looking groggy. The phone rings and everyone physically recoils from it, but Fiona picks up.
The subcommittee responsible for efficient waste and excrement disposal. Really? Yeah, one sec.
Fiona puts the phone on speaker and frantically motions for everyone else to pay attention.
I saw that dog hater sing about sewage on the news. I've been trying to contact someone for years about the sewer in my city, but no one will help me.
Well, you called the right place. We care and we can help.
Fiona thrusts her fist into the air.
Yes, this is where I start to change the world.
Just last night, you called politics a useless circle jerk.
No, I didn't. And in the future, when Oprah calls to interview you about what it was like working with me, don't you dare bring that up.
Oprah's going to call me?
No, sorry. It's just us, the interns of Screwed. We're going to help you with your sewage.
End Act 3. And the tag. Interior Screwed office's day. Fiona writes on index cards and texts them to the wall.
Wallace, how's the canvassing map coming? I want to knock on 100 doors before sunset.
Wallace, Steve, and Izzy watch from their desks.
Ugh, just watching her makes me tired.
You know what? I hate politics. There, I said it.
Steve pats him on the back.
I wanted to be a farmer. Then I met Fiona and bam, now I live in D.C.
You have to tell her.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna tell her. We love each other. It'll be fine.
Wallace stands and approaches Fiona. She kisses him.
Isn't this exciting? It's what the rest of our lives could be like.
Wallace goes back to his desk where Steve and Izzy are.
Yeah, I'm never gonna tell her.
Quiet, shameful deceit, done out of fear and self-preservation.
You'll be great politicians.
End of episode. Woo! Such a fun pilot, Erin. I think the thing that impresses me so much about this pilot is the way you can balance sort of the cynicism of Washington with the sweetness of these characters. 'Cause I think it's really hard to do, to write a pilot that's like clearly cynical and satirical, but also very warm. Can you sort of talk about managing that balance and like how you approached that?
Well, The first draft of this was definitely almost pure cynicism. Nothing went right. The phone call at the end didn't happen. It was just all depressing because that's kind of the reality we're living in right now. It's very easy to write a 100% depressing political comedy. The challenge was definitely adding the heart to it because, like, once I read that first draft, I was like, this is way too dark. And what I find encouraging about the situation we're in as a country right now is how much young people care and how active they are and like wanting to change the world. So that's what I wanted to infuse into it. And it's easy to write about that right now because we are seeing that. We're seeing a lot of young people getting really involved and excited about politics.
Yeah, I think what you really smartly did was I feel like each of these characters sort of represents a corner of like the American voting base. So like we have like the Southern Republican, but like I like how you have him and Izzy like having real conversation. Like was that sort of an allegory for what you hope we can do as a country a little bit?
Oh, 100%. That's what I was, because I'm from Kentucky, and so I have a very split family that goes right down the Trump-Hillary line. And for like the first year, it was almost impossible to talk to each other, and we just hated each other. And it's nice to see like the idea of like moving past, like how do we move past this now? So I wanted to just have two people just connect on a genuine human level, despite how much they might disagree politically.
Yeah, the other thing that's super interesting about this pilot is you're clearly addressing politics, but it doesn't feel like overtly political, if that makes sense. Can you talk about like, if that question makes sense, I'd love you to sort of speak on that.
Oh, well, 100%, because it's definitely kind of in the background, because at its heart, I wanted to write a workplace comedy, so I wanted to be able to make comments on what's happening. Like, I never say President Trump's name or anything like that in the pilot. Like, I do want that to just sort of be in the background, where it's like these people, their relationships, their genuine desire to be good at their jobs and make a difference. That's what it's really about. So it could really be in any office where it's just a competitive workplace. Like you could pick them up and put them in like Hollywood trying to be interns in Hollywood. So their relationships are definitely the most important with the politics in the background.
Right. And I think you've done a smart thing in that, and I think Veep does this too in a very smart way, which is like, it's not partisan. Like the general take on politics is like Washington could be doing better. And the great thing about that is like both the right and the left feel that way. So like anytime you're making cynical Washington jokes, each side will see what they want.
Right.
Which I think if you're writing this for network is like definitely the smart take.
Yeah. We can all agree that Washington sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what you think they should be doing better, we can agree on that one thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, was it tough to write it without a bias to it, or without your own political influences?
Yeah, so I would say like the first draft was I'm obviously very liberal, like volunteered for the Hillary campaign, so so biased, as biased as they come. So it was just rewriting and like noticing the places where I was maybe being too hard on Steve or glorifying one character more than another, and just slowly rewriting that. But definitely it started out very biased.
Did you have like conservatives read it? Any conservatives read it, or was it all like people with your same political?
Yeah, I mean, like when you're living here and
it's
like
tough to find them.
Yeah, all of my friends are like writers and actors and in Hollywood. So
right.
Yeah, but maybe I should have a family member read it.
It'd be. I mean, I couldn't see any issues honestly, because I come from a conservative family as well, and you did a really good job of towing that line.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
In this world, because I think you did mention Pence, so you did mention Trump. Is Trump president in this world?
Oh yeah, it's our reality. Yeah, I think Pence gets mentioned. I think
Anthony Weiner does.
Yeah, Weiner, Angela Merkel. So it's definitely our reality. 100%. Yeah.
But like the two references you make, like Anthony Weiner's a Democrat and Pence is a Republican. So again, like each side will get what they want.
Yeah.
And it's a network show, so that's like such a smart approach, I think.
Yeah, but easy to make fun of both sides.
Yeah.
Bad people on every side.
Yeah.
So easy to do that.
Is this subcommittee real? Is this an actual?
No.
Okay.
So there's a
because you made
lot-
it seem real, and you know the U.S. has like all these weird committees.
There
that
are a
I
lot
was
of
like,
weird
is this
ones.
real?
There's like a Benghazi committee.
Right.
There's a lot of like weirdly specific committees. So yeah, there's no extraterrestrial committee, and
That's how we know of.
I'm sure there is somewhere
there could
out there.
be.
Yeah.
Just like,
And yes, Screwed is not real. It's just I wanted them to have the shittiest job in Washington, so
They have literally.
So they have the shit
Yeah,
job.
exactly.
They have a
Yeah. The shit job.
Exactly.
So
Do you
funny.
connect with Fiona more than any other character?
Oh yeah, definitely. Fiona's definitely the person I see like writing myself a little bit.
Who was the
Run for
hardest?
president one day?
Definitely not gonna.
Who was the hardest person for you to write in the script?
Probably Steve.
Okay.
Like, despite the fact that he's based on a lot of people I know, it's definitely that was the most like hot buttoned issue. I feel like.
Well, were you worried when you were writing Steve that it would come off as too cliche?
Yeah.
As like a southern.
Yeah, because like as someone who like has a lot of people in my life who I love very much who are Southern, like I didn't want to shortchange them in any way. So
I actually
yeah.
liked Steve in the
Yeah,
script.
he's one of the
I
good
know.
guys for
Yeah.
sure.
You did a good
At least
job.
he was trying.
Yeah.
Like he said stupid things, but like he was he was trying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had his like because I feel like that's one of the things is like he has so much heart. Like when the election first happened, is I just assumed that like any of my family members who voted for Trump must be evil, right? Like that was just like where my head went. And then it's like no, they had like their own like very specific reasons for why they did it, and they're still like the people I grew up with who I love. So it's just yeah, he definitely represents figuring that all out.
What's the story with Wallace? Like, I find him as the most intriguing because it's like there's so much about him that goes unsaid, but is still said in the subtext. You know.
I just wanted Wallace and I wanted to write a relationship where I feel like there's so many like will they won't they's in pilots. I just wanted to write a couple that were already in love and like in a somewhat good relationship and. Yeah, Wallace is just a man who'll do anything for love, and he's got this secret.
It still seems like a will they won't they though, because in the
will
sense of like it
tell
seems like he's
you.
gonna bounce.
Yeah.
It's like a won't they, will they, which I really
Yeah.
like. It's a smart take because you start them together, but then learns that you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I feel like I'm
You
not
wrote it.
But in my heart, when Wallace finally tells Fiona, she'll be like, "Oh, okay." Like
Right.
she's, like she loves him too, so he's just scared.
Are you
yeah.
rooting for them?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that Fiona and Wallace would be together forever.
They're sweet. I haven't in a while. I haven't seen like the super ambitious sort of power chick and the sweet poet guy, and I love that relationship. And I haven't seen that in a long time,
Yeah, actually, yeah.
and it's
I
fun.
was thinking about it, I'm like,
Thinking about you, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't. Either like both are kind of like lacking in ambition, or both are like very ambitious.
Yeah.
And that's what ends up driving them apart. Or...
It's fun that the alpha's the female here and the beta's the male. It's just I like them a lot.
I don't think in 2018 you could do it the other way.
Yeah,
real dangerous.
Yeah.
Just like honestly.
It's a good
Yeah.
point. Go ahead.
No, please.
I was just gonna say, Fiona's so much fun. Like, I love this Oprah through line, and in general, most of our questions are about the characters, which I think is speaking to your strength as a writer of characters. Like, I think rarely do we read a comedy pilot where everyone is so vividly drawn. So, can you talk about like your process with character, and obviously that's an important component to you as a writer.
I would say that character, like one of the exercises I find most helpful is I wrote so much more dialogue than what's actually in here. So like Steve and Izzy have conversations that I had to like cut and everything. So like my first draft was really, really long because I feel like just letting them talk to each other a lot helps figure out like that Steve has a vaping business or any of that just came out through like just writing extra dialogue. That one ended up staying in the vaping business, but there's a lot of stuff that's not in there. So I feel like, just writing as much as you can so that your characters are interacting with each other, and they'll kind of, this sounds so silly, but they'll like reveal things about themselves if you like just do dialogue conversations. I think that's the most obnoxious writer thing I've ever said.
No.
It's true. You know,
Yeah.
Paul Thomas Anderson said the same thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
you're
I'm
safe.
in good company.
Yeah, you're in good
Okay,
company.
Do you keep the additional dialogue even when you cut it out, or do you make bullet points about things that you learned so that you can use them for potential future episodes or moments, or do you just like try to store that information in your head?
It's just literally in like a 60-page final draft document where it's like its own document, and then there's the actual like 33-page script. Yeah.
I really liked Izzy in the script because she's one of those characters that we've heard a lot about in real life where, there was a doctor in Pakistan and then they come over and now they're a janitor because of the systematic process of America that doesn't...
racism and oppression.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say all that, but yes, if you will.
We think only our universities count. Like, why would someone else's degree from another country not count? It's completely absurd.
Right. I love that storyline for Izzy, and I'm excited to see
it's
where that
cool.
goes.
Yeah, because I feel like she's the one who doesn't fully belong there. I mean, like, obviously Wallace doesn't want to be there, but I feel like Izzy would like grow up to be like, and like she has an engineering degree. I feel like she wouldn't grow up to be a congressman or a politician. I think she would do something a little bit more noble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you plan on using her characters to sort of explore the immigration conversation in the country, or?
I mean, I would love to, in the world where there's more episodes
Yeah.
of this. I would love to be able to, like, through the lens of comedy, obviously, tackle all these bigger issues.
Yeah.
I think that would be delightful to get to do and talk about in sort of a silly office place comedy.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you went with politics? Like, is that a background that you know really well, or is it just something that you found?
No, I don't know it really well.
Right.
I just, the divisiveness right now of politics was something that I wanted to explore, but like in my more network, heartfelt way of writing. Yeah, I don't know much about it. This congressional internship is not real. It doesn't exist. In real life, if you did this internship, you would all be in your own states. Like, they're not actually all in Washington together. So I just wanted I just wanted an excuse for ambitious people from all over the country to all be forced together and like be different and learn from each other. And a congressional internship seemed like the best way.
Yeah.
What I've noticed in your script is that the only person you really gave it an ethnicity to was Izzy. She's apparently Brazilian.
Yeah.
Was that on purpose, or did you want them to be like an overall?
Yeah, I feel like Izzy's the only one where her ethnicity mattered because she's an immigrant. So like that's the only person who I needed to say. I feel like everyone else could really. I mean, Steve's probably white, but everyone else could. Their ethnicity doesn't really seem to matter. Yeah.
So I do love when people write Black Republicans.
Yeah.
That is
Because
fascinating.
it's such like a. People are usually like, "What are you? What happened?" It's like Kanye.
Yeah, it is. Or
He's
Ben
not
Carson is
Republicans or
a
whatever.
fascinating character.
Yeah.
So
it's always just kind of like when you see that Key and Peele sketch where it's like it's a bunch of like Black Republicans meeting and how they kind of all do dress the same and they all kind of. So it's always a fascinating commentary when you have like two people of color and one is obviously like not promoting like helping other people of color. That'd be interesting.
They're in a sunken place, Adrian. Leave them alone.
I know. They're never coming back.
Yeah.
What's the story with Shanton?
So Greg Shanton, I feel like, is just someone who started out like maybe as like sweet and hopeful as Wallace, and just he's the product of our current system, right? Like he's had all hope beaten out of him, and he's just become so cynical. But my optimism is that there's still like that kernel inside of him that if like the system was just worked better, he would have been amazing, right? He would have been an amazing person to have in politics, but he just got so beaten down by the reality of our system that now he just is mean to interns all day, and that's how he like gets his rocks off.
The other interns in the script, Marcos, Wimby, Schumer, Laura, are they going to play a bigger part later on, like the episodes? Is that your vision?
Yes, because so they also in different drafts, the house they all live in was a bigger thing. Like, so they all live together. So I definitely feel like they would start. And now that they've kind of like dropped that like shield of like my internship's perfect, no, mine's perfect. You know, I think that they would start to interact a lot more and have more real relationships instead of just kind of lying to each other.
Yeah, it's so exciting because even those small characters, if you look at The Office and you look at the pilot, there's no Angela, there's no Kelly Kapoor.
Yeah.
I can't remember the alcoholic character's name with the red hair.
Oh yeah.
She's.
Kate Flannery plays her. I know the
I don't
actress's
remember her name
name
right now.
I'll look it up. You
It's
keep
so
going.
bad, yeah. But it's an example of how.
Well, they're there, but you don't like interact with them. Like you
Right.
see them in the background.
So we meet enough of Wimby and Schumer and Laura, but like I know there's so much fun to explore there, and it's smart because that's the job of a pilot is just to close a couple doors but leave a bunch open and sort of get us hungry for another episode. And I personally can't wait to see the second episode of this. So I think you've
Meredith.
Meredith
Oh my
Palmer,
God.
thank you. But you've really done your job, I think, in this pilot to show us what the show is, but also like entice us to watch more. So it's good. It's in really really good shape.
Thank you.
Is this the first time you've had a table read?
Yeah, absolutely. I've never had any of my scripts read. Like, I'm in a writers group that does it, and writers read. You guys are amazing. Like, when we're like, and then this person's like, there's no inflection or anything. So this is a very different experience.
Is there anything that you wanted to change, or things that didn't work, or did work, or things that stood out to you?
Yeah, you read Tim in such a cool way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. So that made me just be like, it made me realize how little he talks in the pilot. Like, I was like, because it made me want to hear you do Tim more.
Oh, thank
so
you.
it's like I feel like he needs to be in the pilot more now.
The thing is that you've given Tim a strong enough presence in the pilot that even if we don't have more of him, a strong actor, for example, making strong choices could still
Stop it.
could still distinguish him. Though, like, you've given him enough material, I think, that
Yeah.
don't feel too much pressure because but it's true. It was a great read, Tim. It was
Thank
fun.
you.
Yeah.
Who's the inspiration for Keith Mann?
I mean, all of them. All
All
of
of
them.
them,
Yeah.
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 It's everyone. I mean, everyone's pretty bad right now. It was Maddow who, like, remember when she had like the tax documents or
Yeah,
something,
she
and then it
didn't
was
have anything.
nothing. It was nothing, and there was like all this.
She made us wait a whole day for it.
Yeah, and I like got together with my friends to watch it. Like, we're all so. And it was just
Yeah.
nothing. So it's all. And
like, you don't
but she's
have
not
that.
particularly
Right.
bad. It's all of them.
Right.
Yeah, just a talking head.
Yeah.
I almost think you could push that more. Like, it's funny as it is, but I like the. Did you not see how
Yeah,
you
the
did
double
it?
negatives were
Yeah.
incredible.
Like, I almost think you could push that a little more, but
Yeah.
it depends. You don't want it to get too far out that it doesn't feel like our world, but
Yeah.
I do like some of the goofy. Like, I feel like that's just my taste, though. But yeah,
No, it's my taste too. The
Yeah.
goofier, the better.
Yeah.
My-
Yeah.
like I used to have the guy who Wimby, like, it wasn't J-Town Juggalos that was the reality show he was from. It was from Man vs. Beast, and he was like missing a hand, but he like went to high five and forgot he didn't have a hand. So it's like it was way more cartoonish. I dialed that down.
That's fun now. I like the Tweety Bird joke. I hope you keep that in there. That he's like non-binary
yeah.
or shit it up.
I
She-
think that Tweety
They-
Bird's actually just a guy, right?
it's a
I don't
girl.
actually know. Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nobody
I'm
knows.
almost positive it
knows.
is.
Gender
Yeah.
non-binary,
I
guys.
remember looking it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Was Tweety
They.
Bird a guy in Space Jam?
I don't know.
He's
I
non-gender
thought-
binary, guys. We've
Yeah,
established.
we just it's been written.
I'm talking about back before we, guys, like the 90s. Like,
we need to ask them how they identify. It
Yeah.
sounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, obviously we love the.
He's a boy.
yeah,
is?
that's what I thought. I was like, I'm pretty sure Tweety Bird's a boy.
All right. Well, do you have any questions for us, Erin? Obviously we love it, but I'm curious to see if you have anything for us.
Yeah, I feel like my biggest question with this pilot, I always feel like, is how people feel about the actual, like, Boston shit explosion storyline, because I feel like it's definitely in the background, but then also so important. So I have trouble balancing it because it's also not the most interesting part. And what were your all's feelings on that?
I mean, I commend you on giving us a situation that doesn't seem too comical, because you could definitely see something like that happening. Pipes explode like all the time. I like that you didn't stress on it too much. You more focus on the relationships between the characters and more on them trying to get Greg more involved. So I like, and where it goes toward the end, I liked that it wasn't a substantial part of the script.
Okay, good.
That's just my opinion.
I think if it's if the Boston part's really grounded, then it makes everything else a lot more funny. Kind of like, I hate to say, I mean, it's kind of like how you kind of feel like how people handled Flint, Michigan, but like but in a comical aspect of it. So you're kind of like, these people are just not handling the situation at all. Like, they don't know how to handle it. Because that could be something that could happen. Like if like a sewer pipe bust and it entered your water system, that would be really bad.
Yeah.
So how do they go about handling it, and like how can you play with that level of like comedy versus drama, like in that aspect of like, it's a very possible real life thing that could happen, and how do you get the comedy out of that? Because it can definitely feed more comedy from them. Like if you cut to like people in Boston like walking through streams of shit, and then you cut back to them and they're doing something silly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was like,
play
should it
into
be in
that.
DC so that like our characters are actually dealing with the problem? But then that felt like it would be there too much. It's
What was your vision for it? Like, what were you trying to achieve with that kind of background storyline there?
Well, I needed them to have a reason for shit to become relevant.
Right.
But I wanted it to be something that was like far enough removed from them. I also toyed with the idea that they somehow cause a problem, so that like they are more active in causing the situation they didn't have to deal with. But I ended up going with the Boston thing because it's the reality of politics is that you have to react to the crazy things that happen. You don't get to make them happen.
Wasn't there something about that though, with Fiona saying like she was wondering if she helped cause the incident?
Yeah, she's like joking. She like wants to cause a problem, and then this problem does happen,
Right, okay.
and they're all just sort of like, how powerful is she? Kind of a thing.
When I look at comedies, I feel like there's like some writers who like the engine of their comedies usually plot, and there's some writers where the engine of their comedies usually character. I think a show like Silicon Valley oftentimes is funniest because of actually what's happening. Like I think like that's like a plot forward comedy, which is fine, but I think you've written like a character forward comedy. So I think if you push the Boston stuff too much, it's a different show all of a sudden. And I would leave it as is because we don't necessarily care about the problem. Like Mike Schur's this way too in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's never the case that really matters.
Yeah.
Right.
It's how the characters deal with the case. So to me, it feels structurally appropriate to like you as a writer.
And it's something you can always have in the background that's just kind of like, even I always love it when shows do something where people are talking about a problem and then you see like a cut to something on the back of the news and like something really horrible's happening and they're still just talking about it, like or talking about like their real life romance issues, you know, because then it kind of shows that like, oh, this is still going on, it's still happening, but we're focused on the characters.
I think I might be slightly biased on this one as I'm from Boston, but I was kind of waiting for that to play into it more, that you picked that specific city.
Yeah.
I was like, does somebody have a connection to that city? Does somebody feel a little differently? Is somebody's family in shit right now?
Yes.
Are we going to see somebody on screen being like, oh my God, there's shit everywhere, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, we
whatever
do
it is,
that.
is
Yeah.
that going to play in?
Yeah.
And it didn't, so it just seemed like a random city to me. I
Yeah.
like the situation, but I think either pick probably a lesser known city that doesn't have as much character to it, or play it up a little bit.
I actually did a lot of research on sewage systems, and Boston has the most precarious one. So that is why I picked Boston. But that can like come up, but
that makes sense.
like that. Yeah, because it's such
Yeah.
an old city that a lot of their structures are pretty precarious.
I think that would
I think you
actually.
could even mention that.
Yeah.
This is a real life foreshadowing.
Yeah, this could happen, guys. We need to care about sewage.
Especially in Boston.
Yes, in Boston.
true.
Yeah, the older cities.
I was actually going to ask you if it's just for sewage, because I don't know if you know this, but there's an actual thing that's happening right now where the CO2 from cow manure is causing global warming because it's trapping methane, doing this whole greenhouse effect and destroying the ozone layer. Would you ever be interested in expanding it to more of like real life situations, or is it just for sewage? Like,
yeah, no, I think that
houses?
they are for sewage, but we've got very ambitious characters. So I feel like they could easily try and like go talk to the people on the environmental committee and be like, let's work together or something.
Right.
Like they could do a lot of things. And there's interns in that house for every committee. So like if we could tackle any real world issue, really, because it could be someone else from a committee could come in and be a character that episode.
and you're crossing over characters, so you get to build them more. So that'd be cool.
And it's funny to think about shit being relevant in every, like there's a
Yeah.
traffic problem in Texas because of the poo. Like
yeah,
I think
exactly.
like there's
it's
so
what
much
connects us all, really.
Yeah, it is. And with that, any other questions, guys, before we make our way out? Well, Erin, thank you so much for bringing us on. I really like this pilot, and it's like a Jeff kind of show, so it's fun to read this stuff on air. But thank you very much.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
If people are interested in connecting with you to buy this thing up, where's the best way to connect with you?
Definitely my email. So it's Erin, ERIN, at Nolan, NOLIN.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much one more time. Appreciate it.
You guys.
Guys, my name is Jeff. Thanks for tuning in today to the Unproduced Table Read. Today we read Erin Fischer's hilarious and very well-written pilot, Screwed. And it was a blast. And if you liked the show today, I would recommend episode 23, which is another network comedy called Classified, featuring CIA interns that I think has some of the same kind of engine behind it. It's a great script written by another very smart writer named Elizabeth Stamp. We're here next week reading a feature about Oprah. So I'm really excited. I know I said that was going to be this week, but we had to reschedule.
Andrew's
so
playing Oprah.
Andrew's playing Oprah. I was going to cast myself, but then I figured we should have someone kind of color read.
You get to play Oprah. You get to play Oprah.
So it's fascinating. It's actually a biopic in about like 2 weeks in her life where she got embroiled in this case about mad cow disease. So it's a super interesting character study, and I'm excited about it. So tune in for that. That'll be 9 a.m. next week, and I have some other brilliant co-panelists who have stuff too.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. I'm Andrew Guy. You can find me at that name online.
I'm Kevin Crumpack. You can find me at Kev Crumpack.
I'm Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Adrian Snow. You can also catch me on at UCB Inner Sanctum this Sunday at 7 p.m. Plug on a mess hall team called Tusk.
Sweet.
Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Roxy Stryer. You can find me at Roxy Stryer.
And I am Timothy Michael. You can find me everywhere at I am Timothy Mike.
Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week here on the Unproduced Table Read. Bye.
Hi, guys.
Producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network. We would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network. The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.